Welcome to this, our Thursday, August 4th, 2016 edition of the Government News Brief. In the news, government optimistic about improving the business economy, improved delivery of health services in Region 1, and reinstated no tax overtime still to be activated for bauxite workers by union reps. Stay tuned as we bring you the details of these and other stories. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Paul McAdam. Here now are the details. The business economy will see improvement in a number of areas. The Ministry of Business will be focusing on attracting sustainable investments while creating an environment for doing business easier. Delicia Haynes reports.
As the Ministry of Business and Tourism works towards improving the business environment in Guyana, emphasis will be placed on key areas for development. Deputy Resident Representative of the United Nations Development Programme, Shabnam Malik, points out why the ministry must have the right policies in place to fulfill its mandate.
Evidence increasingly suggests that the right approach is usually to focus on developing an attractive and supportive environment that might enable any business, whether small or large, to flourish and to allow reasonably harnessed market forces to sort out which businesses succeed.
Malik adds that with the development of a supportive and attractive business environment, citizens in the country can benefit from widespread initiatives which will eventually be created and introduced.
Many countries have had successes in creating such environments. They have developed and fostered a high-quality workforce, built and maintained high-quality public infrastructure, created a business climate with reasonable levels of taxation and regulation, and through good government and quality amenities have created the kinds of communities that have attracted highly educated and skilled people. I hope that is a vision that is in conformance with the Ministry of Business's views.
Minister of Business and Tourism Dominic Gaskin notes that the objectives of the ministry's strategic business plan are aimed at creating a conducive business environment.
This calls for the identification of goals and objectives and for designing specific actions aimed at achieving those goals and objectives. And I believe that this is best articulated in a carefully crafted strategic plan.
The Ministry of Business and Tourism has placed much focus on developing the local business economy, especially reaching out to small businesses. It has provided training through the Small Business Bureau and intensified the services of that agency. For the Government News Brief, I am Delicia Haynes.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan says he will find out why the reinstated no tax overtime was not activated by Bauxite Workers Union representatives. Tiffany Rodius has more.
Last year, the government announced the reinstatement of tax-free overtime concession for bauxite workers. However, Finance Minister Winston Jordan says he is unaware that the allowance has not been implemented.
To the extent that it's not, 7 months now or how many, it is not being implemented means something has gone wrong, but it has not been drawn to our attention. Nobody complained, so I assume the thing was being implemented.
The complaint was raised with the Parliamentary Sectoral Committee when they met with Region 10 councillors recently. Jordan says the union should be advocating more for its workers.
They need to bring it to our attention or about what needs to happen to activate it. I thought it was already activated.
Meanwhile, General Secretary of National Association of Agricultural, Commercial and Industrial Employees, NACI, the union which represents some of the bauxite workers in Linden, says that he was unaware that the Ministry of Finance has provisions in place for the overtime incentive.
Because we were told after the announcement that this is not something that could just happen. It has to be sanctioned by Parliament.
Joseph said that since learning of the incentive, the union has been in contact with the Minister of State, Joseph Harmon. Joseph says he will now actively pursue securing the incentive for bauxite workers.
I will have to do that as early as possible because I never knew that if we approach the Finance Ministry, we could have that in place. I would have done so a long time ago.
The no tax overtime incentive was removed by the previous administration in 2007, but the coalition administration reinstated the incentive. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rogers.
Despite challenges, Region 1's Health Department is seeing improvement as part of government's plan to advance healthcare delivery across Guyana.
The coalition government, upon assuming office, had promised to provide equitable and quality healthcare services for all Guyanese. This promise is being reflected in Region 1 as health services continue to see improvement, according to the region's health officer, Sardal Makwat.
In 2016, our budget estimate from 2017, we have acquired the provision for an ambulance in Mabruma Sub-District under the procurement agency of MOPH. We're expecting water ambulance from Morocco. Today, Mr. Minister Ali Koch would have presented to us a vehicle which was procured for the Morocco Sub-District, which would aid in health delivery services in the Morocco Sub-District. And in the other sub-district, we would have acquired ATVs for Matthews Ridge, Baramito, and Mabruma Sub-District.
International agencies have also come on board to support the region's health services.
This year, 2016, we've achieved assistance from our partners, PAO, WHO, IDB, and more so Global Fund, in terms of aiding in our vector control, maternal and child health program, and other services. We've even had NAPS, National AIDS Program Secretariat, who would have aided us in training 4 doctors in HIV management, and those would aid in the 4 different sub-districts.
The region's health department has 53 functioning facilities and is managed by the regional health officer, 30 doctors, 3 medics, community health workers, nurses, and other technical and non-technical staff. The department has experienced some challenges, especially in relation to manpower.
Constraints for the region is basically major is our HR. Staffing is an issue throughout the region. We're having problems in terms of most of our facilities are suffering from adequate amounts of staff or staff members. But we hope that ongoing training with the initiative of the region and MOPH that we'll be able to resolve that.
Despite the constraints, the department is working on developing the Kumaka District Hospital in Morocco. Efforts are on the way to establish a district hospital in Matthews Ridge and to transform the Mabaruma District Hospital into a regional facility to deliver 24-hour service, Makwat explains.
Our environmental officer, senior environmental officer, Ms. Andrea Brazilian team with other EHAs, been working assiduous throughout the region, more so in one of our most affected areas, Baramito, with the assistance of PAO, WHO, and other agencies, where many visits were done, 3 for the year, and we're with the fight of most of the infectious diseases, more so gastroenteritis, malaria, typhoid fever, and we're having occurrences of ration fever.
Makwat points out that in an effort to improve the services offered, staff is continually being trained. Renetta LaFleur for the Government News Brief.
The issue of children being abused in institutional care is one that the government inherited, and the Social Protection Ministry has already embarked on improving regulations at state-managed institutions, says Minister of Social Protection, Valda Lawrence. Sneaker Thorne reports.
Minister Lawrence was responding to a recent report circulated in the media by ChildLink, which stated that children living in institutional care have been abused by their caregivers. Minister Lawrence says that she has not received a copy of the report. However, work has already begun to implement regulations and provide an organized training for social services assistants at state care institutions.
I have not received a copy of that report. I have read what was written in the newspapers, but I can say that the reasons for us looking at regulations and so for the home is to ensure that these things do not happen. And not only in the home, but with the early childhood development centers, we're seeking to give guidance in terms of how people treat with our small persons, and also to ensure that we have the persons with the requisite skills to deal with children.
The ministry is looking specifically at training, the quality of persons being employed at these institutions, and to ensure background checks are carried out on individuals to be employed. Minister Lawrence explains.
In most instances, persons are just employed, there is no background checks and so on. And so they just come to do a job, and many of them, they don't know how to parent a child, and so they just do what they know. Many of us, we speak about corporal punishment and so on, but in many of the homes, they believe that if you spare the rod, you spoil the child, and so that is the measures that they use. And so I look forward to seeing the report and to see what the report says, so that it will help us as we go forward to provide the various regulations and guidance and so for the homes.
Minister Lawrence says that the ministry will start the process in-house, and by the end of the year will engage private institutions to have a dialogue on the way forward to ensure that the country's children are protected. For the Government News Brief, Sinika Thorne reporting.
The Ministry of Agriculture is ramping up efforts to increase land rates and recoup billions of dollars outstanding for land rates and irrigation fees owed to the Mahaica-Maikoni-Abari Agriculture Development Authority. Kadaki Amsterdam reports.
The Ministry of Agriculture said that a white paper seeking to increase the cost of land rentals in the Region 5 agricultural scheme has been sent for Cabinet's approval. General Manager of MMA, Aubrey Charles, explains.
Currently it ranges between $400 per acre per year to $2,500 per acre per year. Depending upon the level, you see sometimes in some areas you might just get in drainage. We only provide drainage to these lands. So if you're there, you pay a lower charge. Sometimes you get in drainage and irrigation. So you pay something above the 400. Let's say you might pay 600. Now you're having drainage and irrigation primary. Then you get in secondary drainage and secondary irrigation. You get access, primary, and so once you get in all of those things, you pay at the max $2,500, right?
Per acre per year.
Per acre per year.
Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder lamented the low rates being charged by the authority. The minister says the rates being paid by rice farmers for the services provided by the MMA ADA are archaic and should be adjusted to real terms.
There will be no attempt to keep the rates of land rentals and the cost of drainage and irrigation, or the payment for the cost of the irrigation, in line with inflation. The result of that is where MMA used to be a source of income to the government, it is now taking money out of the government to survive. $237 or thereabouts $1 million out of the budget for this year. So we really have to look at raising rates to proper levels.
Meanwhile, there are reports of lessees subletting lands at a rate that is more than 16 times the amount charged by the MMA. Minister Holder points out this as a breach of contract.
Some of these people are also renting those lands for $40,000 and $20,000 a crop. That's $40,000 an acre, and that money is going not into the kitty. So I mean, it's ridiculous, and that's illegal, by the way. The Act doesn't allow that, and the leases that they have don't allow subletting.
How does the government plan to deal with that?
I think Cabinet is considering it.
Manager of the MMA ADA, Aubrey Charles, says plans are in train to ensure farmers in the Mahaica-Maikoni area pay for the use of MMA lands, and drainage and irrigation fees as required by law, since much work has been carried out to upgrade the facilities the farmers utilize by the Agricultural Authority. Kidaki Amsterdam for Government News Brief.
Those are the reports we covered in today's edition of the Government's News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on GINA's website. We encourage you to stay updated and subscribe to our website and YouTube channel. All government and other information can be accessed from GINA's website. Join us again tomorrow when we will bring you another edition of this, the Government's News Brief. Thank you for watching.